So now we're going to go down the list of all the teams, but we do have to discuss, are we considering like fees that clubs have brought in for players? Are we purely talking transfers in terms of trying to win the league this season? What is our kind of scope of reason here?
Good question. So I'm not going to base it off transfer fees. I'm just going to base it off the player, the quality, whether they're good enough in terms of the ins and outs. And also, on top of that, players who they've kept, who they haven't sold. I'm going to add that into my equation of my grading the transfer window, which I'll name a few examples as we go along. Yep.
Okay, sounds good. So purely with letter grade with the objective of having success this season.
Yep. That's my criteria.
All right, I like it. Adelaide United then, just the one in, no outs, Ajak Riak. He's been bouncing around some of the NPLs. Not a lot going on in Adelaide at the moment, but I think crucially they probably needed a bit going on. They have a visa slot that's opened up from Julien Kvitel. They haven't used it, and they desperately need more depth in defence as well, and they haven't acquired that either.
Yeah, so if I'm going to go for a grade here, I'm going to go for a C because, as you rightly pointed out, they just need way more, in terms of depth, in terms of just all around quality, because where they're sitting at the table at the moment, if they want to try and push for finals, they need to bolster their squad, and they haven't quite done that with only just the sole signing. So although they did keep Craig Goodwin, there were obviously a couple of rumours. I think he was supposed to go to Indonesia. There were a couple of rumours, and I think Craig Goodwin shut them down on social media, saying, don't believe everything what people write, something along those lines. So I think that's a plus for them to keep him, because if he left, then I think it would have been way worse. I think this transfer window, on top of only signing the one player who, Riak, yes, he's young, 25 years old, or not young, sort of in that age where he can make an impact, but in terms of ambition long term, I don't know, is it the right fit? I'm not too sure. As you said, he's been bouncing around a couple of different clubs, but I think Adelaide just need a bit of stability, and this transfer window obviously, it didn't tick that box, so that's why I'm going for a C.
I think he's got injured as well, which doesn't help. I'd even go one further down and say a D, just because there are other clubs in this list that haven't done a lot of business, but I think more than most Adelaide needed to in a very specific area that they haven't covered. Yep. So yep. I would maybe pull one down just to allow for some room for some low activity C's in there as well.
I like that. Yeah, I try not to be too harsh. I'm like, do they warrant a D? Do they warrant an F? It's like, where do I draw the line? But I'll give you that. I'll give a D.
All right, well, an exact example of what I'm talking about is Auckland FC, right? They brought in Jimmy Hilton from the Marconi Stallions, who had that Australian Championship campaign. I think it was maybe the quarterfinals, maybe it was, where there was that long penalty shootout against Apia, and then he stood up and took the winner and scored the winning penalty as well. So he got some fame. He's moved over. Obviously, the injury to Ollie Sailor is what's prompted that. But Auckland's are one of these teams that don't really need first team signings. They are ticking over as they are. Yes, they've had a few injuries here and there, but they've been covered reasonably well. So I think Auckland is a team where they need to see. They do a lot of their business in the kind of main transfer window. So kind of just right on par for them for me.
Yeah, I was going to say C as well, spot on, because they're a team who just doesn't need to add too much. So they've already got the squad settled. I think it would be the opposite if they brought in 4 or 5 players in January. It'd be like, okay, alarm bells ringing. You don't really need to bring in that many players because it's all sort of working under Corica at the moment, sort of flowing from what we saw last season. Obviously with Ollie Sale, that signing had to be made, which is a no-brainer. But besides that, yes, maybe they could have added 1 or 2 players, maybe for injury backups, emergencies. But besides that, in terms of the actual squad on paper that they've got now, I think a C is very good for them. I think they can't really get a B or an A because, like I said before, I just don't think they need it.
100%. Yeah, that was their ceiling. All right, C for Auckland FC, Brisbane Roar, 2 wins. We just talked about, and Marius Lode from Hacken in defence, and Nick D'Agostino, which is a big coup, getting him back into the A-League as well. Obviously, one of these Australian players looking to score some goals, looking to get on the plane to the World Cup as well. And obviously, the big out is Lucas Harrington. That was a deal that was arranged a while ago, but they've lost him in this specific window, so we are going to count him. What's your first impression of Brisbane?
Tough one. I'm torn between a C and a B because D'Agostino I'm really high on. I think he'll be a really good signing, given he obviously got a call up from Popovich, I think a window or two ago, got his opportunity there. A lot of experience in the A-League. I think one of Brisbane's problems this season, or at least of late, is being able to score goals, right? I think that's probably been the problem throughout most of the season, right? They've just had to scrap and find that goal, whether it be late on or on the counter-attack. I think D'Agostino can provide that bit of assurance that if you give him the service, then you will score goals. And I think if Brisbane, can sort of create a bit more for him, then I think this will be a fantastic signing. So that's why I'm sort of torn between a B and a C, because Lucas Harrington is obviously a big out for them as well. So if they kept him for another 6 months, I think guaranteed B, but I'm sort of torn. If there was a C plus, I'd give it, but we're not giving pluses. So I don't know.
I'm with you on a B. I'm with you on a B, I think.
All right. I was going to lean towards a C, but we'll do B. It's close. It's close.
It is close. I'm obviously Lucas Harrington is like a massive blow to lose. But getting in Marius kind of just mean like they have replaced that in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we won't know, just how good he is just yet. But Load, I reckon, holds them at a C just for replacing that position. And then D'Agostino on top. You're exactly right. The only team that scored less goals than them are the Wanderers, right? So they need to find more ways to score goals. They brought in D'Agostino, and he's already scored a goal for them. So yeah, I think by that logic, I'm happy dragging him up to a B.
Yeah, I think Marius sort of puts him on that level to a B. So yeah, I like those two signings. I think they'll do really well. Hopefully for Valkanis' sake, because the results are sort of trending downward. They need to pick up some wins ASAP.
All right. Now, this is the by far the busiest team of the window, the Central Coast Mariners. They have a long list of ins and they have a long list of outs for very different reasons. So the outs, first of all, Abdul Faisal, Adam Paslovich, Alexi Harides, James Harides, and then Mikhail Docker, who came back on loan from whatever club he was at, Verenfurt Kofu, and now he's gone out to a different team again. So that's not really an out, but it kind of is. And then Nico Duarte to Heidelberg, which is very much a developmental thing. And then the ins, we have the big influx from Sydney Olympic. So Ali Orgler, Chris Donnell, and Seth Clark. And then you've got Ollie Laval, who came from South Melbourne after his stints there from Western United in that kind of little break. They got Nathaniel Blair from Perth Glory and Kato Taniguchi, that transfer from the J1 leagues, Albirex Nagata, that did end up coming true. So he's come through as another visa spot as well. How do you even begin to try and break this one down?
Do you give him an A just based off the amount of transfer activity? It's like
quantity.
How do you break this down between quantity and quality? I mean, they've brought in obviously quite a few players, from NPL level. I mean, have they brought in the right profile of players? That's my question. Some of these players, admittedly, I haven't watched too much of at NPL level, coming from some of these clubs. So obviously it's a step up, right, from that level to the A-League. Can they, settle in quickly? Can they adapt? Some people might say, the level isn't, too far between A-League and NPL, but it's still a big jump. So I think some of these players sort of have to lift early, considering the Mariners' position at the moment. Yeah, as you mentioned, Mikhail Docker would have been a big loss, but obviously he didn't even play all season, so that doesn't really count. Adam Pavlicic as well leaving. So in terms of a grade, it's a tough one. What would you go with? You go first this time.
I reckon a B. I don't think you can give it an A just because there's no big standout signings.
That was my thought.
Like massive coups or anything. But but you look at the likes of an Ali Orgler and Ollie Laval, they're two players that have come in and made immediate impacts, right? Like Ali Orgler's scoring bangers, Ollie Laval scored a few goals actually. They've actually, that 1-0 win against the Victory, they've actually won them games of football already. So I think you got to bump them up from a C, and then they haven't lost anyone big. Like Mikhail Docker is the biggest name on that list, but he wasn't there anyway. He was on loan to a different club. So if he was playing and they lost him, that would have been big, but they haven't lost anyone massive. So I think a B is kind of where we're sitting because they had to just improve the depth of their squad.
They had just to sign anyone, basically, and they would have got him a pass. So, yeah, I'm with you. Let's go for a B. I won't disagree with it.
All right. Macarthur FC, obviously the big signing is Mitchell Duke from Makita Zelvia. He was hot property as well, coming from Japan, and there were a lot of A-League clubs that were reportedly interested in him. He wanted a place to play a proper season of football. Obviously, Japan are doing this summer to winter thing, and they've got this little mini tournament in the middle, but having league football week in, week out in the lead up to the World Cup was a big thing for him. So they've got him, and then they've also signed Pratazina as well from Sydney United, I think it was, to the end of the 27-28 season. So an NPL step up. So this feels like another bit of low business, but Mitchell Duke is like a key marquee signing. So I'm almost kind of thinking about that B mark again.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with a B. I would have liked to see a couple more players just because of, being in competition in Asia. I don't know, depth-wise, I'm concerned a bit towards the back end of the season when the games will pile up again. Do they have the squad to be able to compete in both competitions? Are they going to have to be like a Sydney last year? We've got to prioritise one over the other. That's my only concern. But I think Mitch Duke obviously raises that bar to at least a B. So I'm with you there because, again, it's sort of a similar situation to D'Agostino with Brisbane Roar, right? I think Macarthur's problem, and we spoke about this before the season, right? I had Macarthur to actually win the league in first, but admittedly I said that one of their downfalls would be that lack of profile in that number 9 position in the centre forward role. So I think Duke, and so far early days, he's proven to be a pretty good signing already, and we obviously come to expect that, right, with the amount of games he's played for the Socceroos, his work ethic, both on and off the ball, obviously his time in Japan, but obviously he's trying to look ahead for the World Cup, right? He wants minutes under his belt to get onto the plane. I think it's obviously, like I said before, it's a very good signing for Macarthur. So yeah, I'll go for a B, but it could easily be a C as well, because I still think Macarthur, with a couple of extra additions, in 4th place at the moment in the league, I think that would have done them a world of good. But yeah, B or C, I don't know. B.
That's fair. I'm happy with the B. I think Mitchell Duke is just like that much of a marquee signing where it's fair.
Yeah, he makes a difference.
In all honesty, like Harry Soy's, yeah, he does. And Harry Soy's been doing a decent job. Like he has been scoring goals as well. So as they get into the thick of this part of the season where, you get to the last kind of month of the A-League, maybe you're in a quarterfinal or a semi-final double leg of the ACL2 as well. You got a lot of big games where you can't afford to just send out the second team. So having that depth in striker, you still got some decent depth pieces through the midfield and defence as well that can step in at different moments. So a few extra would have been nice. And I agree that keeps them back from an A. But crucially, compared to last season as well, they haven't lost 3 or 4 of their best players and
That's
completely
true.
tanked their chances of winning the league.
Good
so
point.
even in comparison, I think that gives them some points.
Yep, good point.
Now, this is one of the most interesting teams, I think, Melbourne City, because before the departure of Kai Truan was announced to New York City, this is an easy A. But I'm interested as to how much you think his departure downgrades that mark, because they brought in Ryan Teague from KV Mechelen on loan, very controversial signing. Daniel Azani over from Hungary as well, a little bit less controversial. He was a City Academy boy. But Marcus Eunice and Harrison Delbridge as well. They are 4 elite signings, like actually elite signings for an A-League club. And to do them all in January is pretty impressive. And then to lose Kai Truan, though, is a big blow because he's one of their most valuable players. So to lose him in the heart of midfield, as well as one of their goalkeepers as well, who left it for an injury replacement contract that's now expired. Kai Truan is really the significant out there, and that really hurts them. And I think it's shown as well in the couple of games that they've played since he's left.
I still give them an A. With the ins that they've got, I know Truan's a big out. I still give him an A. I think it's those 4 signings, they are high quality. Even Delbridge, right? I mean, we go on about Ryan Teague and Daniel Azani, and obviously that's grabbed a lot of headlines because they've come from Victory recently. But Harrison Delbridge used to play for Melbourne City, right? Let's not forget. I think his experience will be important. He's still only 33. Like, he can still offer a lot. Interested to see. Do you reckon he'll start? Will he slot straight into the team? Is he good enough?
Sorry, I've just kind of blanked on who you were talking about. Remind me.
Sorry, Delbridge.
Delbridge, yes, I would imagine. If he's got full fitness and he's there, then yes, I think.
Because, yeah, you got, like I said before, Teague and Azani. That firepower up top, I mean, that's enough to scare any defence, right? We saw it at Victory. Ryan Teague, obviously, that partnership with Valadon, we spoke about it time and time again, just sitting in front of the back four. I think Trewin is a very versatile player, which is why I think it's a massive ouch. You'd agree with Lachie. He could play in front of the back four. He could probably play in the centre back position as well a couple of times if need be to fill in. When City back then, when they had those emergencies in defence and midfield where they had so many injuries, I just think these four signings massively outweigh the Trewin departure, and I think it's still an A. It's definitely still good enough for an A. So, yeah, that's where I'm leaning.
They are high quality. Trewin is high quality as well. I actually did tweet out and post that before the Kai Trewin departure was announced with those four ins, that it's probably the best January transfer window that an A-League club has ever had. And then Trewin goes, and I'm fully on like the Daniel McBreen train of this is like one of the best players in the league. Like you mentioned, he was a DM that could play centre back. Like people forget now that he was a centre back that was kind of pushed into a DM role. Like that's how good he's been in that six for Melbourne City. I'll let you have. My heart is telling me to pull down to a B. I'll let you have the A because I don't think we're going to have a lot of A's in this kind of January window. But that's a big blow.
It is.
Oh no, it has to be a B. It has to be a B.
It has to be now, does it? Oh, come on. Like you said, there's not going to be too many A's. We've got to give one A. We have to give one A.
There is one. I still think there is one A coming later.
Okay. We'll see. We'll see if we agree.
Okay. All right. We'll leave it in an A. Melbourne Victory, 1 in, 1 out. Charles and Duca from Kagoshima United. Obviously, the big Jamestown analytics signing. Definitely get to line up the league so far. And out is Luka College, one of the younger scholarship players as well. I don't know, Christian. The whole Nduka signing screams to me as just a terrible overreaction to the start of Virgos's season. Like, yes, obviously Victory have struggled to put away goals, but Virgos is like not the central problem. I said it before he started scoring goals. He's a good enough striker. I said it after he started scoring goals. He's a good enough striker. Even now that they signed Nduka, Virgos is a good enough striker. I really don't think they needed this guy at all. I think they just should have held firm with Virgos. Like, I don't understand why they needed to make this signing.
Does it not provide healthy competition though? Because I was quite impressed by him, especially in that game against Wellington. I thought his hold-up play was very good. Aside from the assist that he got, I think, for the second one for Valu play, I thought just his general all-round play, I thought was quite positive. I think he can provide a different outlet for Victory moving forward. I'm not dismissing Virgos because I still think he's a fantastic striker and can definitely offer a lot for this Victory side. And we've seen he can be efficient in front of goal when he gets given the right service. Obviously, Juan Mata behind him, but I don't really have a problem with Nduka. I think it's a good signing. Initially, I was against it because I'm not really for the analytics and the data side of things to sign players. I don't generally agree with that, but since watching him play a bit, I can kind of see why they've actually signed him in a weird sense. So I'm not against it. I'm not totally against the signing. It's just Victory a weird one because it's like, who do you find to add to the squad? Like, who would you have, if you're part of the Victory board or the transfer team, what positions would you have looked for?
Yeah, no idea. I would have gone after Delbridge if he was available, because I think the centre back stocks need improving. But like apart from that, Victory have the quality in individuals. It's just about putting it together. I don't think with 1 in, 1 out, I don't think we're putting them anywhere but a C, right? Like Nduka hasn't lit it up. You can't get a big boost from that, but they have the pieces.
That's the thing, right? It's like, who do you put out? Who do you put in? It's like they've actually got a good squad on paper. It's sort of, one of those in-betweens where they're not top of the table, so they're sort of in the mid-pack. It's like they should be doing better. They should be signing more players, but they've actually got a good squad within. So yeah, I think it's just give them more time, give it to the rest of the season. And to be honest, I don't think they actually needed too much activity. They're one of those clubs like an Auckland, like a Sydney. Yeah, I just think they're on that same page. So see.
All right, let's keep moving then. Yeah, see, 100%. Let's move on to the Newcastle Jets. Same, just one in, one out. Alexander Sushanya has been released and Zach Clough brought back in from Malaysia. Now, we know the rumour was with Adelaide United. At that point in time, they hadn't got rid of Kravaitar, so all their visa spots will fill up. But Jets are another one in that kind of elk of the victory where, like, who are you replacing in that team? James Delinov has really come good after maybe a shaky month and a half to start the season or something like that. Defense has been solid. Mark Natter's in career form. Shaughnessy was a really good import. Max Burgess in midfield and attacking midfield has been great. Their strikers have been lining it up in the attacking third. Like, Zach Clough is just a quality player that knows the league that you're bringing in. So even for a team like Newcastle, where they probably don't need too much, I think that's immediately a B grade.
And it's like, where do you fit Zach Clough, right? I mean, you've got so much quality already up front there for Newcastle, like Lachie Rose, Clayton Taylor, Eli Adams. Like, these are all players that have proven this season that Milligan can rely upon those players to do the job for him. So to add in Clough as well, we know his capabilities, what he did previously at Adelaide. It's just sort of the cherry on top, really. They're on top of the league. They didn't really have to do too much. Like some of these other clubs we've mentioned, they're trending well. They're on the right path. So I think another C, but for them, a C is an A, if that makes sense. So yeah, the ceiling is that right. Sort of a certain bar.
You're right. Yeah, I mean, he's going to be a depth piece. Yeah, maybe. No, he's still a good player, but they don't need anyone, right? I think you're right. I think C is fair. Let's go with the C. I think your assessment is correct. A C is an A. They've just got another good player to boost a squad that's just won 6 in a row for the first time in their history, so they can't go too wrong. Perth Glory. I think this is an interesting one because Perth Glory, I think, are the one team in here that we can give actually a lot of credit for their exits as well, because their squad is so bloated. They had to get rid of some players. I think that was actually a detriment to them, how many players they had in their senior team. So Koa No has gone to Kong. That's incorrect. The list says Kong and Hanoi on loan. It's actually not, because that's Stephen Mork's team. I think it's the other Hanoi team that he's gone to on loan, but the name escapes me at the moment. Nathaniel Blair was released. He obviously went, oh God, which was the club at the top where he went to? Nathaniel Blair. Mariners, that's right. He's gone up to the Mariners. And then you've got Christian Patella from the academy who went to QPR, Adam Bergeria who's gone to Marconi Stallions on loan as well. So they've trimmed some of the fat off that team, and they've brought in Stefan Kolikovsky, who's an A-League proven player who's back in the league now, and Luca Tavira, an NPL quality player that they've brought up as well. So honestly, could be back-to-back 3 squads that like probably don't need a lot of improvement, but they have trimmed the fat. They've brought in Kolikovsky, who is a proven first-team footballer. Will you let me have a B for Perth Glory?
Yeah, I was going to go B as well, because I think getting rid of some of that dead wood, with all due respect, I think it's also looking forward to the future as well. How do we build, a sustainable team where you don't have too much players on your roster? I think that's sort of hampered them a bit. So yeah, and again, Kolikovsky is one of those players who adds that bit extra, right? It definitely elevates to a B, 100%. You saw what he did even against Macarthur, scoring that equaliser. He's got so much quality as well. Probably one of those underrated players where, here or there, he hasn't probably got the minutes he deserves. But hopefully at Perth, he can settle and, try and get back to some of his best form that he showcased previously in the A-League. So I think, all in all, I think a B is a fair assessment.
All right, 3 more clubs. Sydney FC, we talked about their 2 signings for the window. They haven't lost anyone, which I think could have happened potentially. So they've done well to hold on to the squad that they do have, and they've brought in Apostolos Stamatolopoulos and Ahmet Arslan as well. Two play. I mean, we talked about them off the top. We don't have to go into detail there. How do you assess them as a grade?
Do you go as far to give them a B as well? Just with...
Yep.
You would? Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yep. I think that's fair. Yep. Okay, moving on. I think that's solid. Like, they brought in 2 solid players who should help their depth, and definitely Stamatolopoulos at a first-team level as well. So that's better than average. I think a B is fair. Wellington Phoenix, an important window for them three pretty solid signings after what we are pretty sure we described in September was a bit of an underwhelming off-season transfer window for them. So they've brought in Bill Tuiloma from Charlotte FC, obviously a Kiwi. He's playing at centre-back now. Sander Cartum on loan from Hearts as well, who made his first start against the Victory due to the absence of Alex Rufer. So I wouldn't imagine that he's going to play too much, but will definitely come off the bench and make an impact. And then Sarpreet Singh as well, the marquee player, cut his teeth at Wellington Phoenix. He wanted to come back home to where he was loved because, to quote him, that's where he says he plays his best football. So that's really, really exciting as well. Definitely a B for me. I know Sarpreet Singh was one of the best young players in the league at his time. Could you stretch it to an A? But maybe he's the only kind of marquee signing there. Not sure.
I want to go to a limb and say an A just because of Sarpreet Singh. Just
because of Singh.
He's so quality. I love him. I love watching him play. I remember in the early days in the A-League where he sort of lit it up and everyone was talking about him being the next big thing, the next sort of the Kiwi Messi, as they sort of called Marco Rojas as well when he was coming up. So, I think it's exciting to have him back in the league. It offers something a bit different up front for Italiano, who obviously a coach who likes to be creative and have those types of players in his system. I think realistically it's a B, but I just want to be fun and say it's an A.
We've got to be realistic. We've got to bring him to a B. We're serious here. We've got a serious grade.
All right.
We have a B. He's a great player. He's going to be fun to watch for sure. But that leaves us to the final team, the Western Sydney Wanderers. And I'm going out. I think this one is an A. I think that, look, on paper, Western Sydney already have one of the best squads of individual players. On paper, they've got nowhere near the most out of them that they can, but they've brought in Hiroshi Ibasuki, a proven A-League striker, Ryan Fraser, a Premier League winger who's already made himself a cult hero, scoring 2 goals in the important games that he has, and Jacob Farrell, a proven A-League left back. That is 3 elite players that they brought into the squad for no... Alex Bonity going to the Portland Timbers, that's a relatively significant transfer, but like it feels like he's more replaceable than some of the other big marquee, like not a Ryan Teague, a Kai Truan, for example. And then they've released Gabriel Clough and Mohamed Altay as well. So that feels like a really, really solid window for me.
Yeah, I think they've sort of hit the right spots in the right areas in terms of the signings that they've made, right? Ibuzuki, his quality in front of goal, right? When he has the ball in around the box, he'll finish off his chances. I think it's definitely what the Wanderers need. Being at the bottom of the table, they need goals, right? They need to be able to finish off, what they create. And he's obviously got that experience in the league with, the sides he's played for, Adelaide, West United, and even Jacob Farrell, for instance, in the left back position, like you had in previous years. Like Jack Clisby didn't really, live up to expectation. I just think it's a really good transfer window, considering for a team who's, again, bottom of the league, they had to make some moves. I don't think you can give them too many faults, if not all. So, yeah, I'd agree and say it's an A.
All right, there we go. Western Sydney Wanderers with an A. So we've got them and City with A's, although I'm still feel contentious about City, but that's okay. I'll let you have it. No F's. I think that's fair. No failures in this window. Even just, if teams don't bring in everything they need, then at least not losing too many players holds them in that grade. But there you go. There are our grades for the January/February transfer window for the A-League men's teams. Let us know what you think as well.